Lift him up. Lift him up. Lift him up. He set him high.
And for those of you sharing us on television, we're celebrating Mother's Day here at Victory. Come on, one more great clap for all of our mothers. And I'll begin reading from verse 22. Then Pharaoh gave this order to all his people. Every boy that is born you must throw into the Nile, but let every girl live. Now a man of the house of Levi married a Levite woman, and she became pregnant and gave birth to a son. When she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. But when she could hide him no longer, she got a papyrus basket for him and coated it with tar and pitch. Then she placed the child in it and put it among the reeds along the banks of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. Then Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe, and her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl to get it. She opened it and saw the baby. He was crying. She felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she said. Then his sister asked Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? Yes, go, she answered. And the girl went and got the baby's mother. Pharaoh's daughter said to her, take this baby and nurse him for me, and I will pay you. So the woman took the baby and nursed him. When the child grew older, she took him to Pharaoh's daughter, and he became her son. She named him Moses, saying, I drew him out of the water. And all of God's people said, and my subject is risk worth taking. Risk worth taking. This is the story of how God used 3 women to save a baby from certain death. The boy's mother, Jochebed, his sister Miriam, and Pharaoh's daughter all took high risks in defying Pharaoh's edict to kill all the Hebrew Israelite male newborns. Nothing is achieved in life without taking some risk. I hope you're hearing me on television as well. I brought just some simple seeds. A lot of people are planting now. These are seeds of corn. Now, let me be clear. These corn seeds do not come with any guarantee that they are going to produce corn. However, if you want to declare 100% failure, then don't plant them. Because if you don't plant them, you will for sure achieve nothing. Everything in life involves some measure of risk. What we must determine is the difference between a foolish risk and a worthwhile risk. The only way to know the difference between the two is to understand that there must be a correlation between the risk taken and the reward to be received. In other words, mathematically, rewards must be greater than risk. Otherwise, it's a foolish risk. If the risk is great and reward little or improbable to incur, that's a foolish risk. I'm in pretty good shape. I could probably jump from this step down all the way and not hurt myself. Now, I know y'all got your phones out, but I guarantee you this will not be on YouTube because that's a foolish risk. The fact that maybe or maybe not I can do it, and guarantee you if I was to try it, I'd do it on a Monday or Tuesday, nobody here. So when I need 911, I ain't going to be on YouTube. But the point would be, what would be the reward for me taking such a risk and jumping off these stairs? What's the reward? Oh, he's 63 and he could jump off there. That's not a high enough reward. Now, if you ask me what step I'm comfortable, see, that's no longer a foolish risk because it's almost certain that I can do it without injuring myself. Are you with me so far? If I was, ladies and gentlemen, got here a Lucky Day Lotto ticket. If I was to take all of my life savings, because the reward is great, and spend all my money on lotto tickets, how many know that's a what kind of risk? But the reward is great. The problem is the likelihood of winning is so low. Why would I risk everything for a lotto chance? Tell your neighbor there are foolish risks. Let me get in you young people business. I'm going to get your daddies and mamas in a minute, but let me get with you. So y'all do some foolish risks today that we couldn't do 20, 30 years ago when we came up as young people. See, y'all are doing sexting. So you done sent your picture out, and some doofus 14-year-old boy is watching you looking all like that. Eyes all big. And what seemed like a harmless prank, the next thing you know, your name is all over the school. Not only that, what was funny at 15 is not funny at 23 when you go to apply for jobs and they got a picture of you doing all like that. And some of you would say, but I was just a kid. But that's not how employers are going to look at it. And now we got this new thing, catfishing. That's where these young people, ladies and gentlemen, are dealing with internet predators. They falsify their identities, and they trick people into relationships. Let me say something to you parents who are not high tech. You better get somebody who is. Because you need to know what Facebook is and Instagram and Twitter and you need to know what all of that stuff is, because some of your kids are doing stuff so crazy it will blow your mind. And we have watched in our society today 14-year-old girl killed over an argument that started on Facebook. So we are not in an age, ladies and gentlemen, where a thing went down between a few of us and nobody knew. Now when you do foolish stuff, it's all for the world to see. All right, let me say a couple things about you adults, and I'll be out your house, at least for a minute. Adults, living among your means. Living above your means. You are nothing but bling central. Car you can't afford, house you can't afford, jewelry you can't. Let me say something to you. Why must you have your life revolve around things? Why is your self-esteem so low that the only way you can feel you're important is to be driving around in a car you can't afford? Temptation solved that a long time ago with the Joneses. Say, your car may be old, but it never failed to take you where you want to go. See, we get hung up on doing things that are foolish. Oh, I'm going to be able to afford it. I'm going to get a big raise. Nothing's happening. Next thing you know, one of the parents have lost their job, and now all of that stuff, blink, is gone in a blink. Why do you risk your marriage and your status on a cheap affair? We'll deal with that a little later, not today. But I watch marriages devastated as men and women take foolish risks and then break the most fragile thing in a relationship, which is called trust, over something that means absolutely nothing in the end. Someone said, well, what's the answer? Discipline, self-control, and running for your life. Because the scripture says, flee fornication. Get to running, don't stand, hit the road, Jack. And Jackie. You see, we find and define ourselves in the risks that we take and the sacrifices that we make. Life and death matters are always worthwhile risks. Always. You see, in my text, Pharaoh was using genocide as a means of population control. The girls were kept alive because they were the weaker sex. And in biblical times, women were totally dependent on men. Now, I'm going to say something. I'm just a blunt preacher. You young women on the sound of my voice and on television, these ain't biblical times. Well, I'm preaching. Let me say something to you young, beautiful, smart women. Don't you ever put yourself in a position to depend on some man to take care of you. Since it was the boys who could grow up and wage war against the Egyptians, Pharaoh's command was to kill the boys. Thousands of years later, little has changed. In the city and suburbs, it still killed the boys in America. Many ways to kill our boys and girls. Raise them in poverty-stricken homes and communities with substandard education. Raise them in broken, dysfunctional families where they don't get the tools they need to make it in life. You who are parents here today, you have huge responsibilities to give your children the tools that they need to make it. Well, what do you mean the tools that they need? One of the greatest tools, and hear me, Father, I'm glad you brought your wife or mother, your wife and mother here today. But the greatest thing a child can see is for a father to love their mother unconditionally. It does something to a child's security when they understand that their father loves their mother. What other tools? The tools of respect, the tools of patience, the tools of hard work, the tools of forgiveness. No healthy relationship exists without forgiveness. And when in the home, when betrayal has occurred, when hard times have occurred, and fathers and mothers can now forgive one another, they are giving the kids the tools that they'll need to survive. Many ways, again, to kill our boys and girls. Let them value things above people so that their priorities get out of line and they commit crime to get things. And the worst way to destroy them, in my opinion, is don't tell them about God. Don't bring them to church except it's Christmas, Mother's Day, and Easter. Don't make religion a part of their life. Make it a take it or leave it thing. I tell you something, one of the advantages of being 63, I've seen a lot now. I'm not no young preacher no more. I've seen the destruction in these homes, where these homes were all dysfunctional and where the kids were not brought up in the church. I've watched parents not only now having to deal with 8 and 10 and 12-year-olds, 20 years go by like that. And now I watch parents in their 50s and 60s and 70s dealing with dysfunctional 30 and 40-year-old people. I'm talking real life. And then trying to move forward. Let me tell you something. Invest in your children now while they are young, where what you say can stick up in their head. Get your priorities in line. You just can't go to work all the time and be a good father. You can't go to work all the time and be a good mother. You must spend time with those things, those people that God has entrusted unto your care. When we see value in our children, they become risks worth taking. Know what it says in Exodus 2:1-4. The man marries this Levite woman. She gets pregnant. Now, note the order. She wasn't pregnant, then got married. The Bible goes on to tell she hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she took a papyrus basket and coated it with tar and pitch. She placed the child in it along the bank of the Nile. His sister stood at a distance to see what would happen to him. And then Hebrews 11 and 23 picks up on this same theme. And it reads, by faith, Moses' parents hid him for 3 months after he was born because they saw he was no ordinary child. And they were not afraid of the king's edict. She knew she was risking her life to hide that baby, but she saw that he was no ordinary child. There's something about mothers that can see extraordinary things in ordinary people. Because ain't no baby like your baby. Both parents, Jochebed and baby's father, Amram, were involved in hiding the baby. The scriptures focus on the women, and so will I because it's Mother's Day. If you want me to focus on the fathers, come back on Father's Day. Today we celebrate mothers, and I celebrate those you on television. I hope you had, again, a wonderful Mother's Day. Many of these mothers, not all, every mother ain't a good mother. Now, don't nobody amen that. Every mother is not a good mother. I deal with women who cry about the kind of mother they were to their children and are ashamed of it. Every mother wasn't a good mother because the mothers get their priorities out of line like anybody else. But many are good mothers. And they have risked everything, gave up everything to preserve and raise their children. Abraham Lincoln once said, no man is poor who has a godly mother. Moses' mother loved God and her son more than she feared Pharaoh's edict. I want to encourage you mothers, doing all you can and feeling that it is not enough. No one can do more than their best. When you've done all you can, watch God step in. Jochebed, Moses' mother, did her best to protect her son, but God in his providence did the rest. She hid the baby for 3 months, then ingeniously made a small ark, put the baby in there, and had his sister Miriam watch him. How is it that at the same time, here comes Pharaoh's daughter down to the river Nile to take a bath? Note what the scripture tells us in Exodus 2, 5-9. Pharaoh's daughter went down to the Nile to bathe. Her attendants were walking along the riverbank. She saw the basket among the reeds and sent her slave girl to get it. She opened it, saw the baby. He was crying. You know that got her. He was crying. She felt sorry for him. This is one of the Hebrew babies, she asked or said. Then the sister asked Pharaoh, shall I go and get one of the Hebrew women to nurse the baby for you? And then she did that and brought her mother. I tell you, this story is amazing. I mean amazing. Why, Pastor Singleton? Because God's at work. After the mother have done all she know how to do. Tell your neighbor, watch God work. Pharaoh's daughter falls in love with this baby, which she knew was an Israelite. Watch God work. Then his sister comes along, Miriam, goes up to Pharaoh's daughter and says, do you need a nurse? Because you know Pharaoh's daughter can't nurse him. Ain't no milk, no nothing. Oh, go, yeah, I need a nurse. Miriam goes and gets her mama, gets Moses' mama. Brings him back. Goes with Moses' mother, and Moses' mother gets connected with her son. I said, watch God work. And here's the best part. Pharaoh's daughter said, you take care of them, I'll pay you. Tell your neighbor, watch God really work. She got her baby and she got paid too. Tell your neighbor, don't tell me what God can't do. The baby is named Moses in Exodus 2 and 10, which means he was drawn out of the water. It is remarkable at the very measure which Pharaoh had taken to destroy the males, throw them in the river. Now it's that same water that becomes the salvation of the one who will later free the Israelites from slavery. God, you will wonder. And that's why I say to you mothers here today, stop worrying about your children. You got to learn how to turn your children over to God. You got to learn how to stop worrying because no weapon formed against them will prosper. You have to keep training them in the way that they should go even when it's driving you crazy. You have to remember your child belonged to God before your child belonged to you. You got to know when the rivers come and the floods come and the fires come, God will send his angels to be about your family. All things work together for the good to those that love God, to call according to his purpose. Jesus, the Son of God, was killed by wicked men, but his death brought life to all who believed in him. So God took the worst evil ever done by a man, the crucifixion of Jesus, and turned it into the best good done for humanity, salvation of souls by his resurrection. Let me hear you say, God knows what he's doing. Moses, Israel's future deliverer, ends up in Pharaoh's house. Pharaoh even gave Moses the best education in Egypt. This story is hilarious. It really is, because he's trying to get rid of the future deliverer, and the deliverer is living in his house, and he's giving him the education that he needs so he can be the deliverer of the people. Moses proved himself to be a risk worth taking. The baby, once in grave peril, is now one receiving royal treatment. As I close, I'm now speaking to the sons and daughters, the grandchildren, under the sound of my voice. I don't tell them, I've celebrated you as mothers. I want to talk to your kids and grandkids. Y'all can leave. No, don't leave. Some of you are growing up now. And when your kids start getting into the late teens, especially, probably mid-teens, parents, you must own you've lost a certain degree of control. Because if they want to do dirt, they can do it. They can do it. And now the kids want to be the decision makers and don't understand what it takes to make wise decisions. Age don't make you wise. Somebody said, why? Because there's no fool like an old fool. Young people, you must make right choices. Moses chose God and God's people instead of all the wealth and prestige that Egypt had to offer. Look, note what it says again in Hebrews. This is just fascinating. He's got everything that people think means something today, and he gave it up. The scriptures say, by faith, Moses, when he had grown up, he refused to be known as the son of Pharaoh's daughter. He chose to be mistreated along with the people of God rather than enjoy the pleasures of sin for a short season. He regarded disgrace for the sake of Christ as of greater value than the treasures of Egypt because he was looking ahead to his reward. By faith, he left Egypt, not fearing the king's anger. He persevered because he saw him who is invisible. He saw him who is invisible. He had a personal relationship with Jehovah.
Thank you for joining us today, and we look forward to worshiping with you at either our 9 a.m. or 11:30 a.m. Sunday services that are biblically based, illustrated, contemporary, and timely. Our services cater to men, women, the young, and young at heart. We also invite you to join us for Tuesday night Bible study at 7:45 p.m. and Lunch on the Word on Wednesdays at noon. We are so thankful for your continued support of this ministry. And if this excerpt from our service touched your heart to either give financially to the ministry or to purchase the entire worship service on either CD or DVD, please call 708-283-0383 or visit us online at www.victoryapostolicchurch.org.